so rich and so fine to receive them on shore. Hard of oak are our ships, jolly tars are our men. We always are ready. Steady, boys, steady. We'll fight and we'll conquer again and again. We still make them fear and we still make them flee, and drop them on shore as we drop them at sea. So come cheer up, me lads, with one heart let us sing. Our soldiers, our sailors, our statesmen, our king. Heart of oak are our ships, jolly tars are our men. We always are ready. Steady, boys, steady. We'll fight and we'll conquer again and again. Britannia triumphant, her ships rule the seas. Her watchword is justice, her password is free. So come cheer up, me lads, with one heart let us sing. Our soldiers, our sailors, our statesmen, our king. Heart of oak are our ships, jolly tars are our men. We always are ready. Steady, boys, steady. We'll fight and we'll conquer again and again.
We heard your music. We knew we needed to come to you.
Oh, hold on. Ah, good evening.
Good evening.
How are you, lads and lasses? This man looks ready for a drink.
Amen. You got it.
Right. We are the Bosun's Call. We are a singing group that attempts to perform at various places. We sing folk songs, work shanties, and sea ballads. My name is Matthew Crow, and I am the bosun, denoted by the bosun's pipe or whistle that you see here. The bosun was a kind of a ramrod aboard ship, kind of like a sergeant in the army, a foreman, if you will, who made sure that everybody did his job and played this kind of like a bugle does, for the land forces, the landsmen, whom we hope never to recruit. This is Chris Sacra. He is our chantyman. Take it back. Give him a round of applause. This is Andy Park, our foretopman, our most talented sailor. And this is our resident savage, Sean Edwards, our master gunner. Indeed, sir. So we're excited to be back here at the Norfolk Historical Society again. We were here exactly a year ago. We did roughly the same thing, except sober that time. But again, we're happy to be back, and we hope that you enjoy our show. We'll be singing a dozen songs or so from the 18th and early 19th century. As you can see, we are dressed in rather odd clothing. We're dressed as sailors of the Virginia Navy and Royal Navy. Since they wore both basically the same uniforms, we could really be either one. But basically, we are wearing commoners, laborers' clothing. Please hold your questions until the end. We will have a short Q&A session, and then afterwards, please join us for refreshments. If you brought rum, you're my best friend right now. So just look for this cup. And again, we hope you enjoy the program. Lads, huzzah! 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 Cheers. But give him the big mug. He's got such a pretty mug. Okay, our first song, Chris.
Okay, so our first song here, Free America, it was written by Dr. Joseph Warren, otherwise known as Doc Warren, of Boston, to the tune of the British Grenadiers in the 1770s. Warren was one of the original Massachusetts Minutemen and gave speeches about the horrors of the Boston Massacre. He also sent Paul Revere, among others, on their famous ride.
Fed Franklin hither, and lo, the desert smiles. A paradise of pleasure was open to the world. Your harvest, bold Americans, no power shall snatch away. Huzzah, 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 huzzah. sky. We formed a new dominion, a land of liberty. The world shall own, we're masters here, then hasten on the day. Huzzah, 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 huzzah for free America. Lift up your hands, ye heroes, and swear with proud disdain. The wretch that would ensnare you shall lay his snare in vain. Should Europe empty all her force, we'll meet her in array. And fight and shout and shout and fight for free America. Some future day shall crown us the masters of the main. Our fleet shall speak in thunder to England, France, and Spain. And nations o'er the ocean spread shall tremble and obey. The sons, the sons, the sons, the sons of brave America.
So if you want to know about what we're singing tonight, we're singing she shanties. And shanties come in all types and forms. Most shanties, when you actually hear a true shanty, it refers to a work song. In the 17th, 18th, and 19th century, we got no engine in the back, like modern tall ships do today. So don't hear you heard that, but you hauled tall ships yesterday, last week at Harbor Fest, they all have an engine. We didn't have that 200 years ago, so we have to be able to work as a team. So there's several shanties. There's heave shanties, there's hove shanties for different jobs you got to do. It's a lot to raise a sail, a lot to lower a sail. We also have capstan shanties, which is the big capstan in the center of the ship, which raises and lowers the anchor. That's very important when you want to get places. So those are all shanties per se. But what we also sung was foc'sle songs. And the foc'sle is where the sailors live. That's in the front of the ship. And that's where we have, at the end of the day, when the work's all done, and most of us are down below eating and drinking grog, which hopefully have grog later. We would be singing songs that we have known picked up. Most of these are passed down from oral tradition. But basically what happens is in the 20th century, everything gets mechanized. And guess what happens? She shanties leave the age of sail. Because we've gone from sail to now motors and boilers and all that. But we leave our credit to the WPA in the 1930s during the Great Depression. And a man named Alan Lomax was a song anthropologist. He liked to study old songs. And he was the one that went back and recorded all these guys, old clipper ships and things like that he could still find alive to sing them shanties. And he also did many Negro spirituals he recorded as well. So that's why we have them, because of him. If it wasn't been for the government spending money on recording old-timey songs, probably wouldn't have that many. We at least wouldn't know the tunes. So we have a lot of written ones. So that's our she shanties. That's the history of it. We're going to do a lot of foc'sle, some work songs. And some work songs may seem fun, but they're for work. So we're going to give you some more songs here. All right, guys, you ready, lads?
Do we have to?
Yeah. You're here to pay, sing. Let's go.
Sing for our rum,
So our next selection is the story of the Royal British Navy sailors heading from Spain to the English Channel. This song first appears in the 1796 logbook of the HMS Delhi, and most songs come from us in logbooks, and it was made popular in an 1840 novel by Captain Frederick Marryat. And we give to you Farewell and Adieu, Our Ladies in Spain. All right?
We already lost one guy who's sleeping. So
It's okay, Will. Oh, maybe you know some ladies in Spain.
We're rosin up that bow there.
Farewell and adieu to ye Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu to ye ladies of Spain. For we received orders to sail for old England, but we hope that it's short-lived to see you
do again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar across the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly, it's 35 leagues. We hove our ship to, with the wind at sou'west, boys. We hove our ship to, for to strike soundings clear. Then filled the main topsail and bore right away, boys. And straight up the channel, our course we did steer. We'll rant and we'll roar, like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar, across the salt seas, until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues.
The first land we made, it is called the Dead Man. Next rampant off Plymouth, start Portland and White. We sailed by Beachy and Fairley and Dungeness, and then bore away for the Southmoreland Light.
We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar across the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues. Then the signal was made for the Grand Fleet to anchor. Then all in the Downs that night for to sleep. Now stand by your stoppers, see clear your shank painters, haul up your klug garnets, stick out tacks and sheets. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar across the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England. From Ushant to Scilly is 35 leagues.
Now let every man toss off a full bumper. Now let every man take off his full bowl. For we will be jolly and drown melancholy, with a health to each jovial and true-hearted soul.
We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roar across the salt seas until we strike soundings in the channel of old England.
From Ushant to Scilly, it's 35 leagues.
I see some of y'all already started drinking, so pass it up, we'll dispose of it. Okay, Andrew.
Well, if you're going to be having a good drink, and a few things you're going to know about being in the Navy and getting your grub.
Good grub.
And
I missed that for 2 days.
Sometimes ship's cook and also working in the mess. We have a few basic things we're going to be working on in this Navy. The diet of the British seamen was decided by Admiral Pepys long ago, and the diet that he designated for the British Royal Navy actually lasted over 150 years. That's about how long the pay rate for British sailors remained as well. Pepys. But he'd give out some basic stores that honestly wouldn't even fit up here on the stage. Sometimes salted beef, pork, fish, fresh if they could find it, but they salted a lot of the meats that they were eating because it would last so much longer on voyage. But being back in 16th, 17th century, sometimes you wouldn't even get it to last longer than a week. So that made some of the stores that the ship's cook is going to be bringing that much more important. So they may be collecting things like flour to bake anything with, sugar, by the way, make sure your sugar doesn't get in the rain, it gets a bit hard. Peas, they're also going to be bringing in rice, various kinds of spices, including oils, vinegar, molasses, salt, and pepper, all very vital, but also one thing that was very vital to the Navy. Does anyone know what this is?
Hardtack.
Otherwise known as ship's biscuit. How hard is it? Can you hear me in the back row? Excellent. Ship's biscuit is a twice-baked biscuit that is supposed to last and last and last, but even this would be subject to the scourge known as the little bargemen, otherwise known as weevils. Yes, some people saw Master and Commander. Excellent. Good. You know why they called them little bargemen, though? Because the men would be drinking as much as 2 gallons of beer throughout a week, or sometimes even less time than that in the course of their ship's voyage, but they'd have to soften up this biscuit in either water or that beer. And as they let it just drift on top of their beer, those weevils would work their way to the top so they wouldn't drown. And there they are, drifting on your lunch, on your beer.
What do you think, Ashley?
I'll take the lesser of the weevils.
Oh.
Always will.
That's why we're glad we're at port on this assignment.
Oh, one other thing that we also had was a flavorful drink known as grog, where the rum comes into play. That was Admiral Vernon who styled that, realizing that men needed to stay hydrated, but they also needed to get their share of rum to keep spirits up. Spirits. But starting off in the Caribbean with that, he also added in lime and brown sugar, and the lime prevented something called scurvy. And in his day, even then, they had studies of what scurvy was, but they basically said, if no one liked you or if you were a bad temper, you probably had scurvy. And if you had scurvy, probably no one liked you and you were a bad temper. But grog is what kept us happy and healthy and kept our teeth in place. But that is just a taste of what happened in British Royal Navy when we sat down to eat.
You didn't bring enough grog for all of them, did you?
Oh, sorry, I think I drank it all. I don't know. But now, we decide to treat you once again to another song known as High Barbary Sean.
This traditional song, which was popular among sailors, is most frequently sung as a ballad, or a foc'sle song, as I said. It tells of a vessel that came across the pirate ship off the Barbary coast and defeated the pirates who were left to drown. The lyrics refer to an incident between an English ship and a privateer in 1595. We give you High Barbary.
There were two lofty ships from old England came, blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. One was the Prince of Luther and the other Prince of Wales, cruising down along the coast of High Barbary. Aloft there, aloft, our jolly bosun cried, blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. Look ahead, look astern, look a-weather and a-lee, cruising down along the coast of High Barbary. There's naught upon the stern, there's naught upon the lee. Blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. There's a lofty ship to windward, and she's sailing fast and free, cruising down along the coast of High Barbary. Oh hail her, our gallant captain cried. Blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. Are you a man of war or a privateer, said he, cruising down along the coast of High Barbary. No, I am not a man of war nor privateer, said he. Blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. But I'm a salt sea pirate and a looking for my fee, cruising down along the coast of High Barbary. 'Twas broadside to broadside, a long time we lay. Blow high, blow low, and so sailed we, until the Prince of Luther shot the pirate's mast away, cruising down along the coast of High Barbary. A quarter, those pirates then did cry. Blow high, blow low, and so sailed we. But the quarter that we gave them, we sunk them in the sea, cruising down along the coast of High Barbary.
We had to get a little bit of Irish in, so for those of you who are fans of that, got any Irish in here? We'll take you. Here you go.
All right, this next song has been referred to in Irish folklore since the late 16th century. It is often considered to be a drinking song, however, rather than a temperance song. We don't do temperance here. The song tells the story of a young man who's been away from his hometown for many a year, returning to his former alehouse, and the landlady refuses him credit. Until he presents some gold, he sings of his day of roving her over and how he tends to settle down. Now, this song requires a little audience participation, okay? It's a pretty easy chorus. It's in your program. All right, hold this for me, lad.
Hold up your program.
All right. Now, the chorus is pretty simple, and it goes like this. Ready? And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more. All right, one more time, everyone. Join me, ready? And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more.
Don't forget to stop. Let's clap your hands. Which do you want to do?
I've been a wild rover for many a year, and I spent all me money on whiskey and beer. And now I'm returning with gold and great store, and I never will play the wild rover no more. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more. I went to an alehouse I used to frequent, and I told the landlady me money was spent. I asked her for credit. She answered me nay. Such a custom like yours I could have any day. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more. I took from my pocket 10 sovereigns bright, and the landlady's eyes opened wide with delight. She answered me, hey, whiskey's the best, and the words that she only were only in jest. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more. I go home to my parents, confess what I've done, and I asked them to pardon their prodigal son. And when they caress me as oft times before, I never will play the wild rover no more. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more. One last time. And it's no, nay, never. No, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more.
She was singing.
She was. All right. Huzzah!
Get you up here. Get you up here. I like that gal. Sorry, I got a wife and 2.5 kids. Ah. 2.5.
What's the point five?
You'll find out. Okay, so next, I just wanted to talk to you. I'm going to give them a breather after that. I know I'm hurting a little on the backside. So I'm going to tell you real quick about uniforms and tools of the Navy. All right. So as you can see, again, we're all dressed kind of differently. Chris, who's going to stand up for a second, is wearing his shore rig, which those of you who are sailors know what that means. It means you're going ashore to get lifted up and find ladies and have a good time, right? He's wearing his best dressed get-up. Same with me, I'm wearing a shore rig. Nice garments. These other two bums are wearing their work rigs. Less nice clothes, things that are like slops and breeches, and they're just common workaday clothes, whereas we have nice brass buttons. Sean is also wearing what's called a thrum cap. That's to keep all the water off his head. Hit harder?
Yeah.
Andy and Chris are wearing what's called a round hat. Can you guess why?
Because it's
Because it's round. Yes. And I'm wearing a cocked hat. They didn't call them tricorns back then. They were called a cocked hat because it's cocked up on all sides. So again, as you can see, it's basically just laborers' clothing. Some are nicer than others. Some wear vests. Some wear red scarves. Some wear black scarves. There's no uniform in the Navy at this time, although we are usually uniform in appearance. So if we're all working, we'd all be wearing work clothes, sometimes no jackets, just a shirt and breeches, or shirt and slops, no shoes. And then if we all go ashore, we're all going to wear our nicest stuff. So it just depends on each sailor. They sometimes would steal from each other, sometimes their stuff would get lost at sea. So they kind of went up and down about, yeah, exactly. He's kind of salty. He's our savage. They went up and down with their stuff that they would have. Might get ruined in a fight. There was a story I read about some sailors in Norfolk getting in a fight with some Spanish sailors, and a few got stabbed. This is back in the day. Not recently. Yeah, Chris just got out of the Navy, so can we give Chris a round of applause, by the way? Chris retired. We appreciate his service. Here we have a man purse, a ditty bag, which really evolved throughout the 18th century from like a clothing bag or just a tool bag into the 19th century where it became a ditty bag with all sorts of crazy knotwork on it. We try to keep ours pretty simple. But it was basically a sewing kit that they kept in here. It's not like a man purse with your phone and wallet in it. This would just have your tools that you need to mend your gear, to mend the sails, and do a couple other things. So they might have, it's called a marlin spike. You can see that here. What does it resemble? A certain fish?
We saw it.
No idea? A marlin. So which came first, the marlin spike or the marlin? This did. This came first. The fish is named after this. So marl is a Dutch word meaning rope or tarred rope. And so a lot of our seafaring terms went from Dutch to English because the Dutch were pretty good sailors in the 17th century. And the marlin spike was for working with line. A lot of it was tarred aboard ship to help weatherproof it. And so they would use the marlin spike as a hole maker in ropes. They could splice different line or rope together, and that's where that came from. So when they saw the fish, it had a natural name for it. This is another version. This is just the wooden version of the marlin spike called a fid, F-I-D, D as in Delta. So it's called a fid, just cheaper, plus this one floats if you drop it, which is kind of handy.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why we're guns.
Yeah, exactly. We also have a bamboo needle kit for sewing. Every sailor had to know how to sew. Am I right, Lucas?
Yes, sir.
My man over there is about to retire from how many million years?
25.
There you go. Congratulations, sir. This is a serving mallet. This is for wrapping the rigging of the ship with tarred line, also to weatherproof it or waterproof it. So you'd have a little boy with you, a ship's boy, and he would hold a ball of line, and you would feed it through here, and you would just put this on the rope and wrap it tightly around like that. And you would do that all day because you're doing miles of rigging, right? So that gets pretty tedious. But that's,
if you need to powder your nose, sir?
If you need to powder your nose, you go to the
Something
head.
in there for that?
Yes, I do
Do you have
have
any of that snuff?
I do have no snuff tonight, lads. Here we have what's called a grease cup because they would need to oil the rope or line they're working with and sometimes oil their fid with it. So they carry around a little cup of grease with them and also to waterproof things. And then of course your hemp line. They used hemp back then. There's not really any cotton aboard ship. The sails are not cotton, the line isn't cotton. There's no cotton, right? So if you go home and you pull a piece of cotton line and you pull on it, it pretty much breaks, right? So it's not very reliable. So everything is hemp. That's what they use, and they weren't smoking it. Here we have what's called a seam rubber. This is if you're actually sewing a piece of sail together. It's like a little hand iron. So you would rub the sail flat to make a nice flat edge. The same when you made this bag. You would rub this flat so you have less trouble sewing it together. So a couple little sailor's tools there for you. Again, you can see they're all pretty rudimentary, a lot of them homemade. Nothing crazy, nothing fanciful or really technologically advanced. But every sailor would have these, would have their own bag of sewing gear and would know how to use it all because they weren't really a sailor. And when you would recruit men aboard ship or press them, as often happened, they'd be pressed into service. The lowest rank was, of course, a boy was the lowest, which meant, and you could be rated a boy and be an actual grown man. Beyond that was a landsman, which meant you had no nautical knowledge or maritime knowledge. And then you have an ordinary seaman, and then an able seaman. And then beyond that, you get up to bosuns and foretopmen, and then officers. Okay? Cool. Thank you, guys. Turn the page. Can you read? This one?
All right. The name of this next song is also known as Sir Walter Raleigh's Sailing in the Lowlands and dates to the late 17th century. It is the story of a ship called the Sweet Trinity, or Golden Vanity, and how it was attacked by a galley near Holland and saved by the work of the ship's boy.
You have use.
Thank you. Thank you.
There was a ship that sailed all along the lowland sea, and the name of our ship was the Golden Vanity, and we feared she would be taken by the Spanish enemy. And she sailed in the lowland, lowland, low. She sailed in the lowland sea. Then up stepped our cabin boy, and boldly outspoke he. And he said to our captain, "What would you give to me if I would swim alongside of the Spanish enemy and sink her in the lowland, lowland, low, and sink her in the lowland sea? Oh, I would give you silver, and I would give you gold, and my bonny fairest daughter, your bonny bride shall be, if you would swim alongside of the Spanish enemy and sink her in the lowland, lowland, low, and sink her in the lowland sea." The boy he made him ready, and overboard sprang he, and he swam alongside of the Spanish enemy, and with his brace and auger in her side he bored hole 3, and he sank her in the lowland, lowland, low. He sank her in the lowland sea. Then quickly he swam back to the cheering of the crew, but the captain would not heed him, for his promise he did rue. And he scorned his poor entreaties when loudly he did sue. And he left him in the lowland, lowland, low. He left him in the lowland sea. Then quickly he swam round to the port side, and up to his messmates full bitterly he cried, "Oh, messmates, pull me up, for I'm drifting with the tide, and I'm sinking in the lowland, lowland, low. I'm sinking in the lowland sea." Then his messmates threw him up, but on the deck he died, and they stitched him in his hammock, which was so fair and wide. And they lowered him overboard, and he drifted with the tide. And he sank in the lowland, lowland, low. He sank in the lowland sea.
More Irish. Sorry.
It's not Irish. Not Irish. No. All right. This next song is a Scottish folk song that was collected by Francis McPee. This song dates back probably further than that, but he's the one who collected it, and he wrote the song supposedly for his wife. The lyrics and melody are a variant of the song "The Braes of Black Quilter" by the Scottish poet Robert Tannenhill, and we give you "The Wild Mountain Time." sweetly blooming, and the wild mountain thyme grows around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will build my love a bower near yon clear crystal fountain, and I will find all the flowers of the mountain. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? I will range through the wilds and the deep land so dreary, and return with the spoils to the bower, oh my dearie. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? If my true love shall not come, I'll surely find another to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pluck wild mountain thyme all around the blooming heather. Will you go, lassie, go?
Okay, I saw at least 5 people crying, so the singing is that bad. Andy?
This song, popular in the 19th century, but first published in Philadelphia in 1838, had an earlier version known as Rosin the Bow. It refers to the bow of a violin, but both cover the same subject. And it relates to the story of a man who was very popular in his youth, but later in life he came to be known by the ladies as just Old Rosin the Bow. Lads?
Ready, lads?
Do you have a bow to rosin, Chris?
That's what rosin is.
from below. Send down a hogshead of whiskey to drink with old rosin the bow. To drink with old rosin the bow, me lads, to drink with old rosin the bow. Send down a hogshead of whiskey to drink with old rosin the bow. Then get you some buxom young maidens and line them all up in a row. Let them drink out of half-gallon bottles to the memory of rosin the bow. To the memory of rosin the bow, me lads, to the memory of rosin the bow. Let them drink out of half-gallon bottles to the memory of rosin the bow. Couple of bottles, put one empty head in each toe, with a diamond ring scratch upon them, the name of old rosin the bow. The name of old rosin the bow, me lads, the name of old rosin the bow. With a diamond ring scratch upon them, the name of old rosin the bow. I've only this one consolation, as out of this world I go. I know that the next generation will resemble old rosin the bow. Will resemble old rosin the bow, ye lads, will resemble old rosin the bow. I know that the next generation will resemble old rosin the bow. When I hear the grim reaper approaching, that cruel and remorseless old foe, I lift a big glass in his honor, take a last drink with rosin the bow. Take a last drink with rosin the bow, me lad, take a last drink with rosin the bow. Lift a big glass in his honor, take a last drink with rosin the bow.
Okay, so I actually get a chance to talk now. I'm going to talk to you about the Virginia State Navy. So, I bet most of you didn't know there was a Virginia State Navy. What did you think your taxes were going for in Richmond all that? Yeah, not anymore. Just the one that's up at the end of Hampton Boulevard. But at one time, the Virginians grew really weary of the actions of Lord Dunmore, and after the gunpowder incident in April of 1775, which took place where? Williamsburg, right? Where the powder was taken out of the magazine. And then the news of the war's outbreak with the battles of Lexington and Concord, Lord Dunmore, the last royal governor of Virginia, he was fearing for his safety, and he fled with his family to a Royal Navy ship in the James River. There, Dunmore tried to organize loyalists in the colony to counter the rebellion. And in 1775, the Provisional Assembly in Williamsburg voted to authorize the Committee of Safety, again paid for by Virginian tax money, to buy arm and man ships to prevent the royal governor from traveling over the colony's waterways. And during the next 6 months, the committee purchased 5 ships and ordered the construction of several more, as well as commissioned its first captains. In May of 1776, the Assembly established a Navy Board to oversee naval affairs and established an Admiralty Court. Its ships were built across the state, but eventually this became the responsibility of the shipyard on the Chickahominy River and in Gosport in Portsmouth. In 1779, the Navy Board was superseded by a Board of War, with merchant vessels regulated by a Board of Trade. This lasted only 1 year, however, and Virginia established a Commissioner of War, a commercial agent, and a Commissioner of the Navy to coordinate her military and trade activities. And we wonder why our taxes are so high in Virginia. As far as operations, the Virginia fleet primarily patrolled the Chesapeake Bay, lower Chesapeake Bay, and was perpetually undermanned and poorly armed. Some of the ships were used in commerce, sent on voyages to the West Indies and even Europe. Between 1775 and 1779, the fleet captured 15 prizes, but also lost several ships the same way. The British raided the shipyard at Gosport in 1779, destroying stores and several unfinished vessels. The arrival of British forces in South Carolina in 1780, as well as increased raiding activities by the British in the Chesapeake Bay, created increased demand for naval defenses, and Virginia had to resort to the impressment of seamen. After a British fleet landed troops led by turncoat Benedict Arnold in December of 1780, in Virginia, in desperation, hired privateers to assist the Navy. Even though Arnold advanced up the James River as far as Richmond and actually captured Richmond, a fleet of over 20 small Virginia ships and privateers pursued him, and in a one-sided engagement, pretty much one-sided, in April of 1781, called the action at Osborne's, the Battle of Osborne's Landing, the British captured 12 of our ships, and the rest were either sunk or burned. So there's the short history of the Virginia State Navy. It did leave the Navy with one single ship called the Liberty, and she supported operations that resulted in the siege of Yorktown later in 1781, as did 3 additional ships hired by the state after the battle. And when Cornwallis was forced to surrender at Yorktown, Virginia, citing financial reasons, the Navy discharged most of its seamen, and a few ships were fitted out in 1782 and 83, but the conclusion of the 1783 Treaty of Paris, once that happened, all the rest were sold. So the Liberty and the Patriot were retained as revenue cutters into the late 1780s, and the Liberty was one of the longest serving ships in the Patriot cause of the war. So that now you kind of get a history of the Virginia State Navy. Not a lot of people know about it, that it existed, but as we do reenacting, we are a lot of times impressed actually into portraying British sailors, because there's not a lot of Virginia State Navy needed around the area, and then when we do, it's normally in a losing battle, unfortunately, but it's work nonetheless. So, on that sad note, we'll be moving on to a much lighter theme here, and
I think they're impressed, Chris.
What's that?
I think they're
impressed. Okay. Well, should we skip the tavern song, or should we do?
No. Yeah, I don't feel like doing that one.
You guys want to hear a tavern song?
I want to
I need a beer first.
Yeah.
Beer first.
I need to go
How
steal
about
a
an
barrel
ale?
of whiskey.
Would you like an ale?
I would love
I would
it.
love
I
an
hear that
ale.
Nottingham ale is actually pretty good.
I hear so.
Yeah. So if you'll take out your programs once more, here's another chance for you to prove to us
You can
how
sing a
poorly
little
or
bit.
how well you can sing. So we only need you to sing on the chorus, which is printed in there. Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. Can everybody find it? So we'll sing it one time to practice. You basically sing the same 2 lines over again. So,
Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale. Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale.
I think we have some new recruits potentially.
Yeah, well, we've got a lot of ham over here.
Yeah, a lot of ham.
I can't help it.
Okay. So this song, Nottingham Ale, was written by a British naval officer, surprisingly, in praise of a barrel of Nottingham Ale which had been sent to him by his brother. It first appeared in 1752 in the Gentleman's Magazine, and it was sung to the tune of Lillabolero. Nottingham Ale was very popular and tells the tale of the famous ale which was while boasting about the tasty liquor in all its glory, as if there's an untasty liquor.
No.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll find it if it's out there.
I don't know.
When Venus, the goddess of beauty and love, arose from the froth that swam on the sea, Minerva sprang out from the cranium of Jove, a coy, sullen dame, as Montalbus agreed. But Bacchus, they tell us, that prince of wood fellas, was Jupiter's son, pray attend to my tale. But those that thus patter mistake not the matter, he sprang from a bottle of Nottingham ale.
Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale.
bishops and curates, priests, deacons, and vicars, when once you have tasted, you'll know it is true that Nottingham ale is the best of all liquors, and none understands what is good as to you. It dispels every vapor, saves pen, ink, and paper, when you've a mind from your pulpit to rail. It'll open your throats, you can preach without notes when inspired by a bottle of Nottingham ale.
Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale. Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale.
You doctors who more executions have done with powder and potion and bolus and pill, than a hangman with noose, a soldier with gun, a miser with famine, a lawyer with quill. To dispatch us the quicker, you forbid us malt liquor, till our bodies consumed and our faces grow pale. But mind who he pleases, what cures all diseases is a comforting bottle of Nottingham ale.
Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale. Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale.
One more time.
Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale. Nottingham ale, me boys, Nottingham ale. No liquor on earth is like Nottingham ale.
John, lad, I think they want to hear you. But I'll
Wanna
go.
hear me?
I'll go instead.
Oh, I got it.
No, I got it.
No, I think it's you. It's you. It's you.
There's enough smoke came out in the smokehouse there. Our next song is called A Rovin', something we specialize in.
I'm the master.
Indeed. And Commander. The origin of this song's theme is from Thomas Heywood's play, The Rape of Lucretia, published in 1608, right around the time they came to Jamestown. I'm sure, Captain John Smith read it, which displayed something called anatomical progression. The song varies, but is often a cautionary tale of a sailor's amorous encounter with a maid, who then takes advantage of the sailor, or is a fire ship, or what is known as a wench with the pox. Fire ship. Now we sing a modified and clean version of this song that does not follow anatomically, but instead follows the course of the relationship. So I give you a roving. This is our version, by the way. You can find a ton of them out there, but this is the one I thought you guys would enjoy. It's just salty enough.
Slightly salty.
Just a little sea salt.
Wee bit.
In Portsmouth town there lived a maid.
Mark well what I do say.
In Portsmouth town there lived a maid.
And she was mistress of her trade. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid.
The last 10 months I've been to sea.
Mark well what I do say.
The last 10 months I've been to sea.
And hell, this gal look good to me. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid.
I kissed that maid and stole away.
Mark well what I do say.
I kissed that maid and stole away.
She wept, young man, why won't you stay? I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid.
She swore that she'd be true to me.
Mark well what I do say.
She swore that she'd be true to me.
But spend my money fast and free. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee,
a great big Dutchman rammed my bow.
Well, what I do say?
Then a great big Dutchman rammed my bow and said, young man,
Dis bin mein Frau. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid.
But when I next came home from sea,
Mark well what I do say.
but when I next came home from sea, a soldier
Had
had
her on his knee. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid.
In Portsmouth town there lived a maid.
Mark well what I do say.
In Portsmouth town there lived a maid.
And this fair wench my trust betrayed. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid.
So take a warning, boys, from me.
Mark well what I do say.
So take a warning, boys, from me.
With other men's wives don't make so free. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid.
One more time.
A-roving, since roving's been my ruin. I'll go no more a-roving with thee, fair maid. Woo!
My favorite topic. I'm going to tell you real quick about the other Navy in Hampton Roads at the time, the Royal Navy, which we operatively call Lord Dunmore's Navy, because he's the one who assembled it, and he was the one in charge. So, as most of you probably know, Lord Dunmore, Robert Murray, Earl of Mordor, and other places, was our last colonial governor. So in June 1775, the Patriot militia chases him from his town, or his house in York County, known as Portobello. He was cooking some mushrooms there. But yeah, it really was called Portobello, two separate words. Chased him, and he jumped on a vessel in the James River called the HMS Fowey. And he sailed the Fowey down to Hampton Roads. He said, I have my Navy, my wooden walls about me, because the Navy was here. We had many ports. We had a port called Portsmouth. We had a port called Norfolk. We had a smaller port called Hampton. And then various inlets and various roads, Lynnhaven roads, Hampton roads, inroads, outroads, Sewell's Point, Mill Creek Point, Blackbeard Point. But the point is that he decided to make his stand at Hampton Roads. So the first thing he did was he went to Portsmouth. You would think he would come to Norfolk, but he went to Portsmouth to Gosport Shipyard. Why would he go there? Because all the naval stores were there, all the supplies were there. And the man who ran it was also a fine Scotsman like himself, Andrew Sproul, who founded the shipyard in the 1760s. So he goes to Mr. Sproul and says, I have my Navy, I need supplies. What have you got? He said, I've got everything for you, Lordship. And so they hung out there. They drank, they sang, there were women, I'm sure they had fun. But that's where he decided to make his stand. And so from there, he sent out various sorties, various raiding parties to stop the militias, to attack them, to raid their munitions. And so Lord Dunmore came over to Norfolk. He went over to Kemp's Landing in Princess Anne. He went over to Hampton. And his first big battle against the Americans, the Virginians really, was the Battle of Hampton in the fall of 1775. And unfortunately for him, he is dealt a lethal blow. The militia fight him off. His ships kind of get floundered. There's other ships sunk there. They don't know what to do. They're just a giant flounder. And so they retreat ingloriously.
Giant flounders.
Giant flounders. Big flounders. They retreat ingloriously back to their ships after the Virginians in Hampton had burned one of the ships that came ashore in a hurricane. And he says, okay, what else can I do? And so he comes over to Norfolk and he seizes the printing press. He says, I will win them with words. He said, quote, I will run all risks to win them over to our side. And so he starts printing his own newspaper aboard his ship at the time, which was the HMS William. He also had another ship called the HMS Otter and various other vessels. So some of these are sloops of war, some of these are men of war, some of these are big ships of the line, and others are ships they capture from the Virginians in all the ports. They take what they can, bring them into the Royal Navy service. So he prints out newspapers. Eventually, in November 1775, he attacks the Virginia militia in Princess Anne County at Kemp's Landing, and they retreat ingloriously. Dunmore wins a great victory, and he raises the naval jack on a flagpole and then has a huge ball to celebrate his victory in a local home that I believe is either still there or there's a church on its site now. So he does that and he says, everything's good now. But then he takes it a step further and he threatens to release the slaves and servants of the Virginians who are then in rebellion. So just the slaves and servants of those in rebellion. And he is willing to enlist them into the Royal Navy or into the army as what he calls an Ethiopian regiment. So a regiment of freed slaves. So he starts that. That, of course, wins him no friends among the Virginians who see this turning into a class war. Okay? Because he's taking away their source of manpower. He's taking away their Irish servants, like this one we got back here. He can haul a line, though, I'll tell you that. And so he basically puddles down in the Elizabeth River, and over the holidays, he just hangs out, looking at Norfolk, gathering his minions about them. The local sign of loyalty is red cloth in Norfolk, which quickly sells out because Lord Dunmore's there with his guns. Who are you loyal to? Oh, you, of course, your lordship. Yes, look what I'm wearing. I'm wearing red. And so he says, there are thousands ready to rally to my standard, but there are still patriots lurking about. And so finally he goes down to this little place called Great Bridge in what is now Chesapeake and decides to actually sally out and attack the Virginians, a foolish thing to do. For if he had just sat in the fort that he built with his men and his cannons and let them attack him, he probably would have won the day. But Lord Dunmore is not like that. This is the man who won the last colonial war in Virginia, the Shawnee War. How did he do that? By going all the way out to West Virginia with his men, shooting all of them, and then making them sign a peace treaty. That was in the early 1770s. He said, I'll just do the same thing. But this time, the Virginians are ready. Their militia is solid, and the ground is not. So the ground is all marshland with the forts. It's December, it's cold, it's miserable. The Americans or the Virginians get other reinforcements from North Carolina. And so when he comes out of the fort to attack, they shoot him down like dogs. And so Dunmore's defeated. After that, he goes back to Norfolk, and in revenge, he decides on New Year's Day to fire all of his cannons from the ship right at the city. And his men come in, the Marines, and they start torching warehouses and buildings that hold supplies for the Virginians. Well, the Virginians respond not how you think they would. They burn buildings of their own. They're supplying the Tories. So they all burn buildings, they all dance in the ashes, and Dunmore just fiddles. Right? So that's New Year's Day in Norfolk. Kind of fun, right? By the spring, things are going badly because he's sitting in these ships, he's sweltering, the mosquitoes are out, all these slaves and servants that have rallied to him he can't feed, they're dying in droves of various diseases like malaria and smallpox. And so he says, okay, I'm going to go to another spot where I can hide out, get some fresh air, a better port, and be resupplied. So he goes to a place called Gwynn's Island in Matthews County, Virginia. Anybody ever been to Gwynn's Island? It's a small island, about 600 people live there right along the coast. And he takes the HMS Roebuck, the HMS Otter, all his ships, and he sets up a fort there with his guns. And the militia just kind of laugh at him, like, what are you doing here, buddy? Well, because he thought it was a good harbor, and he thought the Royal Navy would supply it. But unfortunately for Lord Dunmore, the Royal Navy does not come to his rescue. They don't send any supplies, they don't come to his aid, and he sits there until July, when finally Andrew Sproul dies of malaria there with him, because Sproul had to leave Portsmouth because he's a Tory now. And at that point, Dunmore says, I wash my hands of it, basically. They're not giving me any help. I told them to hold on to Virginia. I told them to send me supplies, and nothing's happened. So he sails for New York, leaving Virginia forever to the actual patriots, the Virginians themselves. And so that is the glorious end to Lord Dunmore's Navy in this area. But it does continue on. The ships participated in other campaigns against Virginia throughout the Chesapeake Bay. Lord Dunmore goes on to be the governor of Bermuda. He actually has a pretty good life after this. He tried, he's actually a pretty good soldier, but he could not swing the Virginians to see his way of thinking.
Like, why did he send us in a hurricane wreck?
Exactly. So, without further ado, Chris?
Okay, so talking about Virginia, keeping the theme here, let us to Virginia go. So this song dates actually to 1660 when Englishmen were emigrating to America in droves. However, unfortunately, few women were making the voyage to the New World. This song also goes by the title A Net for a Night Raven or A Trap for a Scold. It describes a husband who contrives to rid himself of his scolding wife and profit by it. For you married lads in the audience, remember, this is a song and not an instruction manual.
My honest friends, as you should have quiet from scolding shrewd and get money in these hard times, then pray, give ear, listen to these lines. Here is a merry song, if that you wish to buy it, to show how you may money get and lead your lives in quiet. I'll teach you the receipt, shall cost you but a penny. I think there's few that hath not heard of famous brave Virginie. And not far from hence there dwelt an honest man, a weaver, whose wife was witty, fair and proud, yet her wit deceived her. She was a grain too light, she called him fool and ninny, which made her husband off to say he'd go unto Virginie. But she had a lusty lad, vowed she'd leave him never. At last the husband found a trick those loving mates to sever. Quoth he, your note I'll change, though now so sweetly sing ye. And unto a shipmaster he went that sailed for Virginie. Saying, good sir, I know of women you are lacking. I now have one that I can spare, her I can send packing. But times they are very hard, I'll sell my wife for money. She is a proper handsome lass and fitting for Virginie. Well, if she be young and fair, sir, I will entertain her. Tell me then your lowest price, for I must be some gainer. 10 pounds, he answered, I cannot bate a penny. She is good merchandise, you know, and fitting for Virginie. Well, bring her aboard my ship, and there you shall be paid. For suddenly we must be gone, I must not be delayed. But he went home unto his wife, saying, I am ready. Sweetheart, I must leave England now and go unto Virginie. But one thing of thee I beg, that you'll see me take shipping. This joyful news revived her mind, sent her heart a-leaping. Unto herself she said, now farewell, good man Ninny. My love with me shall merry be when thou art in Virginie. They coming to the ship, the master bid them welcome. Into his cabin they were brought, where his guests came seldom. But he stepped forth unto his husband, paid him down his money, who straight took boat and rowed away and sent her to Virginie. Straight away they set up sail, had good wind and weather. 7 long weeks they were at sea before that they came thither. And he for her maiden sold her for 50 pounds in money, and she another husband got when she got to Virginie. And thus I conclude my song, I hope there's none offended. And where the things are done amiss, I wish they would be mended. Now beware, you scolding wives, if no fair means shall win ye, lest your husbands you entrap and send you to Virginie. about how the French saved us. Yes, I said that, how the French saved us on here.
The frogs.
There is a story of the Battle of the Capes. Anyone familiar with this one? All right. We've got a few minutes to tell you just a little bit about that. So I'm just going to play this up as best everyone should know. Picture, April 1781. We have Generals George Washington and Rochambeau, respectively leading the American and French armies in New England. And recently arriving in the West Indies, we have also our French Admiral de Grasse, who has brought 37 ships with his fleet and is sailing north to aid however he can. And he has two options. He goes up to New York, where George Washington wants to bring both armies down and the French Navy to attack the British in New York, or go to the Chesapeake Bay, where we have Lord Cornwallis, the leader of the entire British Army here in the colonies, starting to build a Navy base at Yorktown. Well, de Grasse decides, I'm going to go over to Yorktown and start there instead. He takes an indirect route to avoid all the British, but the British understand he is leaving, so they send Admiral Hood from the West Indies to beat him there. But he takes the direct route, misses de Grasse and his French fleet, misses all 37 ships, on his way there, and gets to the Chesapeake first. Finding no French vessels at all, he continues on to New York. Now, meanwhile, this has gone from April now in August. 4 months later, General Washington gets news of what de Grasse was planning and hurriedly changes his plans around, starts mobilizing his troops, sending them down to Yorktown, understanding that if he's going to face Cornwallis there, it's only going to work if the French take the Chesapeake and maintain control of it. Well, now we've got Admiral Hood meeting up with Admiral Graves. He's the commander-in-chief of the British Navy in the colonies up in Rhode Island. Now they decide they don't want to have any of this back and forth anymore because they see French fleets and vessels leaving New England and going to Chesapeake. They decide to merge both of their fleets, head to the Chesapeake themselves, and figure all of this out. When they get there, they find de Grasse, who thinks, oh no, that's Admiral de Grasse. He was going to unite his fleet with mine. Seeing that they are in fact British vessels, he quickly offloads all supplies, gets all of his men back on board, and mobilizes all 37 ships into a battle line. Now this is September 5th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The battle didn't even last 3 hours long. And at the end, the French suffered 209 casualties and damage to 2 of their ships. The British lost 90 sailors, injuries to 294 of their sailors, and 6 of their ships were damaged, which was enough for Admiral Graves to say, I can't do this anymore today, I'm just going to go this way right now, and he sails off for a bit. Comes back 5 days later, hoping to catch them by surprise. But by then, de Grasse's French fleet was joined by his fellow admiral, de Grasse. Now de Grasse has united his with de Grasse, and now they have even more ships defending the Chesapeake. Graves still has injuries to his crew and to his ships. He sails on to New York and says, I've got to get repairs done. I have to get these done quickly. And he's waiting to get all of them done all through September, into October. Finally, his ships are ready, but he is just days too late. Lord Cornwallis was depending on fresh supplies and men. And on October 19th, having no other choice, he surrenders. And thus, we end this American war for independence with sincerest and most wonderful help from the French fleet.
All right, we've got one final song. We know you're all ready to drink. This one is called not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Jolly Sailors. The song dates back to the mid-18th century, and there are several versions of it where they use sailors, coachmen, hunters, or laborers. It's the same song as Farewell to Grog and Come Let Us Drink About. It's the same tune. The singer describes those who drink water, ale, whiskey, and date freely, noting those who drink are happier. And we couldn't agree more.
Very true.
Ready, lad?
Sailors sat in an English tavern. 4 jolly sailors sat in an English tavern. And they decided, and they decided, and they decided that they would have another. Let over. Landlord, fill the flowing bowl until it doth run over. For tonight will merry be, for tonight will merry be, for tonight will merry be. Tomorrow will be sober. Here's to the man who drinks water pure and goes to bed quite sober. Here's to the man who drinks water pure and goes to bed quite sober. Falls as the leaves do fall, falls as the leaves do fall, falls as the leaves do fall. He'll die before October. Here's to the man who drinks good ale and goes to bed quite mellow. Here's to the man who drinks good ale and goes to bed quite mellow. He lives as he ought to live, lives as he ought to live, lives as he ought to live. He'll die a jolly fellow. Here's to the maid who steals a kiss and runs to tell her mother. Here's to the maid who steals a kiss and runs to tell her mother. She's a foolish, foolish lass. She's a foolish, foolish lass. She's a foolish, foolish lass. For she'll not get another. Here's to the maid who steals a kiss and stays to have another. Here's to the maid who steals a kiss and stays to have another. She's a boon to all mankind. She's a boon to all mankind. She's a boon to all mankind. For soon she'll be a mother. Four jolly sailors sat in an English tavern. Four jolly sailors sat in an English tavern. And they decided, and they decided, and they decided that they would have another.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for coming. We won't hold you from your grog, but we appreciate it. Again, we are the Bosun's Call. Find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We hope you like it. We post weekly. And if you're interested in ever having us come sing in your group, we're happy to do that. Just talk to one of us afterwards. Again, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we'll take them now.